Hi, everyone. We're here at Health Europe in Amsterdam. So with me, we have Dr. Charles Young, our Chief
Hello.
Medical Officer. Super excited to have you on board, Charles.
Thanks,
And thank you for joining us here. We were hoping to talk about a few things on the medical side of how Infermedica operates, but also about the market. So, Charles, I have a first question for you. Can you tell us a bit more about your role at Infermedica? What do you do as a Chief Medical Officer? What's the role of clinical governance overall in a kind of company that we are?
Okay, thanks for your very interesting question. So I guess my role has got three main components in Infermedica, leading our team of doctors in a medical leadership capacity, thinking about how we drive adoption and usage of our AI triage, working closely with our customers to achieve that. And as you said, mentioned already, thinking about our approach to clinical governance, which is massively important at the scale at which we operate.
And how do you define clinical governance?
So clinical governance is the combination of clinical safety and efficiency, and that's wrapped in an appropriate level of financial control. And that's the original definition of clinical governance that Scully and Damien came up with in the NHS some time ago.
Amazing. And Charles, I wanted to ask you about AI in general.
Yeah.
You can focus on whatever market you like world overall. How do you see the role of AI on the patient side? You're emergency room physicians.
Yeah.
You work in a very different environment, but a lot of health happens in our homes.
Yeah.
When we are not in a hospital. How do you think AI can help, broadly speaking?
I think the challenge for patients at the moment is they've got two main challenges. One is the ease of access to medical services, and the second is trust. And I think AI can help in both those ways. So at the moment, as a patient navigating through medical services, being triaged, it's difficult. It's not a convenient process. And I think using AI, especially conversational AI, to make that more acceptable to patients, to make it easier for them, to make it more comfortable for them, is really important, because that drives appropriate adoption of healthcare services. And that's one of the big challenges today.
You mentioned trust.
Yes.
What's your recipe? How can you build trust if you're an AI company? What would you advise to other companies?
I think trust comes from understanding, in my view. If you really understand something, you'll trust it. And so in our context, part of that is explaining how we operate, what we do, what the team is, but also our research data is extremely important in that context. Demonstrating to people in a really formal research environment that our solutions make a very positive impact on patients' lives and their health. That's a key way, I think, to develop trust, but both in patients, but also in other partner organizations and the operating principles we use.
Can I ask you a tough question?
Yeah.
How do you know the research is actually good? What's the differentiator between? Is there a differentiation between this evidence, that evidence?
So that's a very good question. We could talk a lot about critical appraisal of research, but I don't think it's the right place for that. I think broadly, again, there's two levels of thinking about that. Most of the research published in high impact, peer-reviewed medical journals is extremely good quality. So I'm not saying you can take that for granted, but on average, a paper published in Nature or Mayo Clinic Proceedings, that's likely to be a very good quality, because their editorial procedures and processes are very robust. So that's part one of the answer. Part two of the answer is you need to read the research and see if you believe it. Good research is presented in a way that it should be accessible to pretty much anybody. And so actually not taking it for granted, reading it in detail and thinking about what it means is really important in terms of trust.
Oh, I love it. So Charles, one question as we finish up. What would be from the position of a chief medical officer, clinician, what would be your one piece of advice for healthcare companies, healthcare startups out there?
I think it's about quality. Yeah, you have to aim for, in healthcare, quality is paramount. So quality of the process, quality of the solution, quality of the leadership of the team, and quality of the interaction with the customers and patients. Healthcare is all about quality.
I couldn't agree more. So Charles, thank you so much for taking the time. Great talking to you.
Thanks, Piotr. Good conversation.